think this election should be the pandemic election.
Yeah!
But the major parties and Climate 200 independents are not talking about it. Now, if you lost your business during the pandemic, they're not talking about you.
Yeah.
If you couldn't see loved ones and family members during the pandemic, they're not talking about you. If you couldn't cross borders to see, your family, I've heard of stories of even couples separated from, during the when the borders were closed. They're not talking about you. And if you refuse to give into their mandates, they're not talking about you. Well, let me tell you, One Nation is talking about you. I'll tell you a little story. On Thursday night, I was at a candidate forum with Zali Steggall. Catherine Deeds was there.
Yeah.
All the Green Senate candidate was there, and the Labor candidate as well, the Senate candidate as well. So it was a bit of a pile-on. And I was speaking about how One Nation is the only party represented in Parliament that has introduced legislation to end vaccine mandates.
Yeah.
Now, their reaction was Zali Steggall whipped around and asked me if I'd been rat tested before attending the event. She asked me over and over again, and then the ABC moderator threatened to throw me out. This is how they perceive the unvaccinated. Now, Zali Steggall is a sitting member of Parliament. She is meant to represent her community and everyone in it. This is how she treats the unvaccinated. So if you think that the lockdowns and the pandemic and the government response is over, it all just magically went away leading up to the election. So whatever you can do to help any One Nation members, if you can be on the polling booths, if you can help out volunteering, letterbox dropping, this is the election where we really need to stand up and push back. And you only have one vote, but it's very powerful. So we need to use it effectively, and this is the time. And also, after this election, we have to build. Think about all the connections that you've made leading up to this election. We can't just walk away and go, okay, well, we'll get back together a couple months out from the next election. No, every month, have meetings, have fundraisers, get out there in your communities and build up a volunteer base. Because that's what happened during the pandemic. They caught us off guard. None of us expected we'd ever be locked down or any of these draconian measures to come into place. And we all felt isolated. There was no leadership, apart from Pauline Hanson and Malcolm Roberts and Mark Latham. There was no real leadership. We didn't know where to turn to. But this time, we built up all these connections, and we can stick together, and we can fight back. So please reach out to any of your friends, your family, and try and build some support for One Nation and your local candidate, and stick together. That's the main thing. So again, thank you all for coming. Thank you for Colin, and thank you for calling.
Commanding the Narrative podcast, which I believe is the #1 podcast in the entire universe.
If you could go through life in the Liberal Party without being expelled, you should be ashamed of yourself.
We will decide who comes to this country and the circumstances in which they come.
Socialists don't like ordinary people choosing, or they might not choose socialism.
120 years ago, our country had the world's highest per capita income. What the hell happened?
The answer is, mate, because I want to do you slowly. I want to do you slowly.
Ah! We're coming for you, globalist! Ah! Coming for you!
G'day everyone, welcome back to another episode of Commanding the Narrative, except this time it's a little bit different. So I'm Steven Tripp, but tonight we've got John and Riley here from the Young Conservatives for Christ, and it's a night off for me. They're going to take over. John put out a post on social media just yesterday saying that he's going to take over Commanding the Narrative tonight, and he's going to, I guess, you're going to be you're going to be holding the reins, mate, and so is Riley. So you guys are going to be interviewing me tonight, which is a little bit different, and this is going to be going up on their platform as well, Young Conservatives for Christ. So if you're watching this on Commanding the Narrative, head over to YouTube or any of the social media platforms you got. You guys are on Facebook and Instagram. Give these guys a follow. They're both young guys. They're both involved in politics, which is what we want. So support them. Show them some encouragement and motivate them to keep going by supporting their channel. Like their stuff, subscribe, and comment as well. All that stuff really helps the algorithm, and it gives these guys a bit of a boost. So that's enough for me. Over to you, boys. John, I know you very well. Riley, I just met you tonight, so it's going to be very interesting talking to you guys. I guess you guys can take it away.
Great. Thank you, Stephen. It's a great honour to take over your podcast and to grill you for once. You get to grill everyone else. And I looked back, and I've actually been listening to your podcast since January of 2024. I was actually shocked when I heard that. So it's great to be here. And for those who don't know me, I've been on the podcast a couple of times. I'm John Martin. I'm the national coordinator for the YCFC. And this is Riley Battiato. He is our YCFC campaigns director. And basically, we are a movement of young Christians seeking to influence politics from a specifically Christian worldview. And so if you want to find out more about us, you can go to youngconservatives4christ.com, and you can check out any of our social platforms, Instagram, Facebook, X. That's the website there. I need to update it a bit because we haven't updated our people's thing. But if you want to become a member, it's ages 14 to 35. It's a very quick process, take you 2 minutes. Awesome. I reckon we'll get into it. We're going to get into everything.
I want to start off by saying that the whole reason this is happening tonight is because you started this great podcast. I mean, I've had you on my show so many times, and you had so many guests on before me, and I had to say, what the hell? Like, where's the loyalty? Where's the loyalty, guy? All right, you take it away.
Oh, well, that's fair. I tried, but we couldn't get it done during the week. So Stephen has had the pleasure of having us on his podcast to interview him.
Well, here's a question for you guys already from Mark Neugebauer. Hello, Mark. Very good that you're watching. How is YCFC different from Turning Point Australia, and are you collaborating?
Oh, very good there. I would say there is a difference, and I'd say Turning Point is just a conservative movement. It's not specifically a Christian movement. In America, they're a lot more Christian focused, but they have a whole faith section of Turning Point, whereas we are specifically Christian. And that's how our founding principles guide us. And we're willing to collaborate on them. We're willing to collaborate with anyone that's got the same values as us to some extent. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to do that in certain realms, but not at this stage. But I'm sure we will in the future. Turning Point will never get traction in Australia. Well, that's debatable. But anyways, let's get on to Stephen. We're going to absolutely grill you tonight. We're going to see people are going to know what you really think about One Nation, the Liberals, about Australia. Let's start. How did you get into politics, Stephen? I think this is a really what was was it COVID? Was it before COVID? What caused you to say, I'm going to put my head in the ring and like you ran for the Liberal Party, run for One Nation? Oh, you didn't quite run for the Liberal Party. You ran for One Nation. How did you decide to get into politics?
I was always interested in politics, even as far back as I can remember. When I was a little kid, my grandparents were very political, and my parents as well would talk about it. But mainly, I remember going to my grandparents' place and sitting around their kitchen room table in Barbara Park, listening to them, basically complain about how bad the country was going under Labor at the time. I don't remember Bob Hawke so much. I was alive during when Bob Hawke was Prime Minister. I more remember Paul Keating, and feeling of the country at the time. It's very similar to now, but I think we're in a worse situation now. But look, we weren't. There was no real pride in the country. A lot of people felt like we were going in the wrong direction. I remember my mum talking about the Banana Republic. There was the Iraq War going on at the time. I remember my mum was very concerned about the Iraq War. So I remember growing up in those times, and it was it was a little bit worrying because we felt like the country was going in the wrong direction. We didn't have good leadership. Labor was not taking us on the right track. And it got to 1995. I was still in primary school, and I'd sit in front of the TV every morning before going to school when I'd eat my Wheat Bix or whatever, and I'd watch the Today Show on Channel 9, and I'd see all these characters on the news. And I remember when the Liberal Party went back to John Howard, and the mood changed. It's specifically within my family, like going to my grandparents' place now. It's like the Liberal Party had dusted off this old warrior that was coming back to save the day. And I didn't know anything about John Howard. I didn't realise. I was too young to realise that he was still sitting in the Parliament. It was almost like they dusted him off from retirement and they were bringing him back. And the momentum went with John Howard, and the whole country changed under John Howard. His first term was a bit shaky, wasn't the best, but he really grabbed this country and took it in the right direction. And so did Peter Costello. I was listening to Peter Costello being interviewed on Sky News this week, and I forgot that we used to have budget surpluses in this country, and we used to have a treasurer who knew what he was doing, and we felt secure, we felt prosperous, we felt like suddenly you had more money in your pocket. Like when we were growing up in a one-bedroom unit in Ashfield that we were renting off my grandfather for, apparently we weren't paying any rent in the beginning, my mum tells me, because we didn't have any money. We didn't have a lot of money. So, yeah, my brother, me, my two parents crammed into a one-bedroom, sleeping all together in the same room. That's how I grew up. And we didn't have anything. We just had each other, and there was a happy time. Like I have fond memories of my childhood, but I remember as time went on and when Howard came in, our situation got better. And look, my dad and my mum worked their guts out to provide for the family. But Howard took the whole country, and Costello took the whole country and turned it into a better direction, and they really saved the day. So I was always very interested in politics. I always followed it. I would always get very nervous at election time. You always think Kim Beazley was going to win. I even thought Mark Latham was going to win. And then Kevin Rudd happened in 2007. I was out of school by then. I had already been working. I think I was living on the Gold Coast at the time. And Kevin 07, he swept to power. And that's when I became more politically, assertive, like speaking out on social media and stuff like that, because I was so angry. Like I couldn't believe that the country had taken John Howard. And look, it was its time factor. And look, in retrospect, Howard probably should have handed the reins over to Peter Costello probably a year before that election. But I was more outspoken then. I think in 2010 I joined the Liberal Party. It was 2010 or 2011 I joined the Liberal Party, but I was too busy with work. I work in construction, so we work long hours. I think I was doing night shift at the time. I just couldn't get to the meetings. So I was a member for about a year or so, and I just let it lapse. So I never had the chance to go to any of the meetings or anything like that. So yeah, that was really the extent of my involvement in politics. I was always, always outspoken. Everyone knew that I was very political. I was always interested in politics. I was always talking about it. But it wasn't until COVID that's when it really pushed me over the edge, because I had always been a Liberal Party supporter. I always voted Liberal, and suddenly the Liberal Party federally and also here in New South Wales, they were the party that put me out of work, put me out of a job, and was threatening my livelihood. And they were also threatening individual sovereignty, which I was completely against. I just didn't – everything about COVID, the lockdowns, the mandates, the whole response, I thought it went completely against what Australia should be and what our social fabric really should be. So that's what really sparked me to get involved, and that's why I put my hand up to be a candidate.
Yeah,
I think Riley's just turned into a.
Yeah. Sorry, it's frozen. Yeah.
There you are. You're back somehow.
It's frozen. Yeah.
The best way is probably to jump out and jump back in.
All right, I'll come back in a second.
I'll probably reset it. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get Riley back in a minute. But yeah, no, that's really interesting. Out of curiosity, when do you think it started to change for the Liberals? Because they've definitely had a downturn since like a certain stage. Like the last few Liberal Party governments, both federally and state-wise, they haven't been conservative in very many occasions. When do you think that sort of change happened, when the Liberals started to become less conservative and sort of try and chase the left to get those votes off of Labor?
Look, I used to adore John Howard. I used to call him the great man. But in retrospect, I say it's his fault. Because two things. One, he talked about the broad church. Now, if you're in a broad church, then you stand for nothing. I mean, what are your values? What are your policies? What does your party actually stand for? If you just stand there and go, well, we're a broad church, well, that means you want to appeal to everyone. So if you stand for everything, then you stand for nothing, really. So I disagreed with that. And he didn't leave a legacy. He didn't blood any new leadership in the party. Look, he should have been building up Peter Costello, but he didn't. He was more trying to hold Peter Costello down. And look, I guess that's politics and that's part of the system. He wanted to hold on to power, and he probably could have been Prime Minister for a lot longer than he was. He was still fresh. But look, he probably should have put more faith in Costello and tried to build up Costello. But you just have to look, when Howard lost that 2007 election, who was the guy that took over from him? Brendan Nelson. Like, yeah, great guy from all accounts, but he wasn't really a leader. And I think that's the biggest problem. It opened the door for the moderates to come in, and you speak to a lot of people in the Liberal Party, and I always ask them, do you think the Liberal Party has been taken over and infiltrated? And they all say yes. And I think that's what happened. They didn't have a strong conservative leader because Howard didn't leave anyone behind. Costello, unfortunately, left and left politics after that election. I would have loved to seen him stay on as opposition leader, because I think it would have only taken him 3 years to get back into power. I think he was a much better choice than Abbott was. I was never a huge fan of Abbott. There's something about him. I know people rave on about him. I was never a huge fan. I just didn't think he was a leader. He was a good middle-of-the-road attack dog for the party, but he wasn't a leader. And I think that's your answer. There was no strong conservative leadership since Howard. And the party's just been ripped apart.
Yeah,
it's really interesting. Riley,
it's in a devastating. I was just going to say, I fully agree. It's in a devastating.
Hey, Riley, don't have any audio from you.
I can hear him. I can hear Riley.
Oh, I don't have. Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad. Riley, continue. I don't know why it's not working for me.
I was just saying that that was kind of the breaking point where the Liberal Party, and now it's pretty much in a devastating event, like Surrey State. Like our main Conservative party now is One Nation, arguably. That's how I would look at it as a voter. If I was to vote for a Conservative party, would be the Liberal Party, would be One Nation.
Yeah, I mean, which is mind-blowing from where I stand. You know, I was growing up when Pauline Hanson first burst on the scene in 1996, and I always agreed with what she was saying. I mean, obviously her language sometimes could have been better. Like when she said, well, she's never been a great speaker, and I think everyone goes back to her maiden speech, and I think from what I've heard, it was written for her, and they were probably trying to go for the biggest bang for their buck. They were trying to get attention on her. They were basically causing a stunt and saying that Australia is being swamped by Asians, and they're talking about the Aboriginals. That's inflammatory language, and they were doing that to get attention on Pauline. And look, that probably held her back a lot because the people against her, even the Liberal Party used that against her, the media used that against her. And look, she was Donald Trump and she was Nigel Farage, but I just don't think intellectually she was up to it as much as those two are. Look, I think just by osmosis, she's in the position now that she is. If it wasn't for the Liberal Party falling apart, I don't think the polling numbers for the Liberal Party, for One Nation would be as high. It's just the fact that the Liberal Party, it's not the Liberal Party anymore. Yeah. I gave up on the Liberal Party. I joined One Nation and ran in the 2022 election, not because I was a huge One Nation supporter. I just knew that the Liberal Party wasn't the Liberal Party anymore. If I was going to run for an election, it was going to be against the Liberal Party. Look, they were the ones that my horns were locked on to. It was less so the Labor Party. It was more the Liberals. They were the party I was really going to go against. So I looked at the Liberal Democrats who eventually became the Libertarians. I also looked at Australia One, which was Ricardo Bosse's party, and I didn't have my heart set on being part of One Nation. It was just a vehicle at the time that I could use to run and I guess put my views forward to the electorate and to the country. But look, I think Pauline as a leader, she's there. She's the one that we've got, and the test is now whether or not she's up to the task. I would rather her listen to Barnaby Joyce than James Ashby. Definitely, I think. But having Barnaby there, I think a lot of people look at them now and go, "Okay, well, there's some credibility there, there's some leadership there." But we've seen that in the past where people come in and they don't stay very long. And she doesn't seem to gel with them. She always blames them. She always says that they don't like being under a woman and whatever. But everyone that's come into One Nation has gone in there and they've left, except for Malcolm Roberts. And look, Malcolm is the reason why they get so much support. So many candidates I met, they said, I joined One Nation because of Malcolm Roberts, not because of Pauline Hanson. And they never, ever promote Malcolm. Malcolm's just a little engine that could. He's quiet. He goes about his work. He doesn't try to get the spotlight on him. But, look, I can't remember what the question was, but I'm seeing a lot of comments come through. A lot of people are writing essays. I don't know if we're going to be able to keep up with all those, but normally I'm reading them out while I'm listening to someone else talk, but I'm doing all the talking tonight.
The last two comments there are good. Mark, the leadership structure needs to change. As Jared Renick says, they're not a democratically structured party. In the Richards comment, One Nation is far from perfect, but look at the alternatives. I mean, you got 2 points, really good points.
And that's
there.
coming from a libertarian. Richard's not even in One Nation. He's in the Libertarian. What Richard is saying there, Richard's not talking about the other parties. Richard's talking about the Libertarians, right? That's what Richard's talking about now.
He might have to call in and defend himself. I'm sure he will at some point. But what do you think of One Nation now? Because you were with them for a little while before that got scuttlebugged. Where do you think? Because like people have discussed the problem, as you've mentioned already. Like for years, One Nation have been trying to gain seats, and they've had people come in and then lose them to just going independent due to the structure of like how because it's all based around Pauline. What do you think about One Nation, where it's sitting in terms of people wanting to consider joining it, and where do you think it could be in the future?
Look, people have got to understand that if you read the One Nation Constitution, their federal constitution, their state constitutions, Pauline Hanson has all the power. It's a dictatorship. It's a fascist system. She has all the power. They're setting up branches at the moment, which is good. I think, I've heard that's the influence of Lee Hanson, which from all accounts, Lee Hanson is probably the real hope of the side. If One Nation has a future, I think a lot is going to have to rest on her shoulders. And I've never met her. I've never spoken to her. It's just from what I've observed and what I've heard from other people. But look, in saying that it's a fascist dictatorship, I really enjoyed my time in One Nation. I really did. I enjoyed it far more than my time in the Liberal Party. I couldn't stand being in the Liberal Party, but being in One Nation, I really enjoyed it. I remember going to events and feeling like it was like going to a Christmas party or a wedding or a birthday party where you're going to see all your old friends. And that's what it really was, because we were all very similar people that had been adversely impacted by COVID. And we were just ordinary people standing up for our country, and we all got on very, very well. Now, there's a little bit of friction and stuff since I left. That's just politics, because I left One Nation really to join the Liberal Party because I'd been headhunted by the Liberal Party, and we can talk about that if you want. I've talked about that in the past. So I had to I had to bash One Nation a little bit on the way out. That's just politics, right? And the things I was saying were based on real stuff, so it wasn't like I was making it up. But I did enjoy my time in One Nation. One Nation has fabulous people. Candidates are great. The members are great. And the volunteers are fantastic. For people that are willing to stand on a polling booth in an orange T-shirt and be called a racist and be spat at and be abused. I mean, I don't think that it happens as badly as what it did in the past now. But that's the sort of stuff people have to go through being a One Nation supporter and a One Nation candidate. So I tip my hat to all those people. They're great people. It's just the way that the party's run upstairs in the head office. It's run. And you know, the way that it's run, it really doesn't look after their own people. And it really doesn't look after their own candidates. It almost bleeds them dry. It bleeds them financially and it bleeds them from their time. Because if you want to run as a candidate for One Nation, you have to fund your own campaign. And you also have to put a lot of time and effort into running your campaign. You're not going to get any help from anyone, apart from the people that volunteer for your campaign. But I'm talking about you're not really going to get help from the head office. Because in fairness to the head office as well, when I was there was like 3 people running the whole country. It's not enough hours in the day. So I think people going into One Nation, I know a lot of Liberal Party people and National Party people, they're considering about One Nation, they're considering going in. You just have to be aware of that. I did speak to a National Party MP and I asked him if he was going to join One Nation. He said, look, there's just not enough protections. Pauline runs the place like a dictatorship. And despite the fact that the National Party has its own problems, there's far more protections in the National Party for him to stay in that party. And that's holding a lot of people back. And I think it was a fair assessment. If you go into One Nation, you've got to realise that you could be there today but gone tomorrow. And that's just how the party operates.
Okay. No, that's interesting to know. And let's flow from that to you running you ran in 2022 in the federal election and 2023 in the New South Wales state election. Tell us a bit about that and your experiences through that.
Well, they were 2 very different experiences. The 2022 federal election, I ran in the seat of Warringah, which is on the northern beaches of Sydney, Zali Steggall's electorate. So I didn't know too much about Zali going into it. As I said, my horns were more level at the Liberal Party. But as we went along, I had started speaking to people that were living in Warringah, and I hadn't lived there for very long. I think I moved to Warringah, moved to Balgala in 2020 when I met my wife. So we moved in together. I had been living in Sylvania, but before that, I lived at Parramatta for about 8 years, and I grew up in Petersham. So I bounced around Sydney. So this was I hadn't been on the Northern Beaches all that long, a year and a half, 2 years. So I wasn't there for the 2019 campaign, but I heard a lot about that campaign, how GetUp was involved in Zali's campaign and how badly they had treated Tony Abbott. So I was expecting to be treated the same, really. So as I said, my horns were levelled against the Liberal Party, but Catherine Dees was their candidate, and I don't think you could find someone more genuine and a nice, genuine person than Catherine Dees. I remember being on the polling booths, and I was the lowly One Nation candidate. I polled 2%. Everyone was expecting less. People were telling me I'll probably get about 10 votes. But she was the Liberal Party candidate in a former blue ribbon Liberal Party seat, and she would always come up and make an effort to come up and say hello and to ask me how I was going and have a chat. And she's a lovely person. So I found it hard to really go after the Liberal Party with her as the candidate. And the Liberal Party, the way that they treated Catherine Dees in that 2022 federal election was abhorrent. I mean, it was disgusting how they treated her. And I saw how stoic she was. And I mean, I would love to see Catherine Dees have another crack at Zali Steggall, because I think with the shackles off, I think Catherine Dees could really give her a run for her money. But yeah, as we went along, it became clear that the real devil in not just Warringah but the whole country is Zali Steggall, because of the policies that she's pushing. And she talks about integrity. There's no integrity there. I mean, this is the whole Teals. This is what people don't understand. They just look at them as middle-aged women that just want to save the world, but they're very entitled. A lot of them have deep roots within the Liberal Party. Allegra Spender is probably the best example of that. I think her grandfather and her father were members of Parliament or involved in the Liberal Party for a very long time. We speak to people in the Liberal Party and they'll tell you that the Teals were a creation of the Liberal Party, of the moderate faction of the Liberal Party. So the whole thing behind them, they're funded by Climate 200, they're funded by big renewables investors. This is just, my opinion, this is the money-making scheme. The Teals are there for a renewables investment. If you're a renewables investor, you're looking at the Teals and saying, okay, I'm going to pump millions of dollars into this campaign. But it's an investment for me because if I can get these people into power and they can push renewables policy, then I'm going to make a hell of a lot more money out of government subsidies and the money that comes from pushing wind and solar. So once I started campaigning against that, it became quite clear that Zali was really the main devil in Warringah and the main opposition that I should be going up against. And that all led to interactions with Zali. I remember the first time I met her was at the ballot draw, and she was nice. She came up and said hello. But after that, I didn't get any interaction with her apart from a candidate forum that we did, and that was probably what I was most known for in that campaign, that candidate forum, because what happened was, I know, John, you were thinking about playing the clip.
Yeah.
But,
do you want to play the clip?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yep.
I guess I'm controlling this. All right.
Sorry about that.
No, it is your podcast, but I guess I'm pulling the lever. So this was the 2022 Warringah candidate forum. This was at the DYRSL. A lot of people know this because of people still come up to me now and ask me about this, or they make jokes about it. You know, we all make jokes about it now. But I was asked a question, or the whole panel was asked a question about our thoughts on lockdowns and vaccine passports and whether it was right or wrong. And this was what I had to say.
Well, One Nation is the only party represented that has introduced legislation to end vaccine mandates. That legislation was voted down by all the other parties, Liberal, Labor, Greens. So I just want to ask, what have vaccine mandates achieved? Apart from putting good people out of work like myself, I lost my job.
Can I just interrupt? Stephen, are you vaccinated?
No, I'm not, and I lost my job. And that is why I'm here tonight.
So, guys, I'll just pause it quickly because you can see Zali just kind of like talking there, and I think she was talking to David Shoebridge, who was running for the Greens as a Senate candidate at the time, and he did get elected, so he's a senator now. And from what I've been told, someone was telling me that he was whispering stuff in her ear. So that was interesting. Hold on, we've just lost John. Let me bring him back. There we go.
Sorry, I just lost the audio, and now I've got it back now.
Okay, you guys good?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
So I can just see the crowd at this point. I don't know what's going on. So all I see eventually is Zali quip around in her chair and like look at me like directly. So I'll play it. I'll keep going so everyone can know what I'm talking about. So yeah, you can see her like kind of talking behind the scenes.
Zali.
And at this point, she's asking me over and over about being rat tested.
Have you confirmed that you're negative for unvaccinated? So I'll take that as a no. So, just so that we're very clear.
Excuse me. That man over in the blue, you're being ridiculous.
Okay, so you got to put this into context. This is 2022, so there was no more restrictions. I mean, I could be in a club without having to do a rat test. So I was well within my rights to be there. And I know of one other candidate that was up on that stage that was also unvaccinated. I was told by someone, I can't remember, and I don't know if this is true or not. This is what I was told. I was told there was a third candidate on that stage that was also unvaccinated. But Zali decided to take that opportunity to, I guess, have a go at me. And as soon as she did that, as soon as she quipped in a chair, and you couldn't hear what she was saying because she didn't have the microphone, but she was asking me over and over again whether I'd taken a rat test. And I remember thinking to myself, is this really the hill that you want to die on? Like, you could go after me about energy policy. Like my opening speech, I was talking about nuclear energy, and I was talking about, cobalt in with the child labour, and which we saw on the Spotlight episode on Channel 7 just this week. I mean, I brought all that stuff up. I mean, she could have attacked me on any of that stuff. Like, climate change is her one big policy, but she decided to go after an unvaccinated person and try to get them removed. They as it goes on, the ABC moderator chimed in as well and asked the club whether I could still be there. They were going to kick me out of that forum just because I hadn't taken the vaccine. This is 2022, by the way. I mean, we'd kind of already moved on from this stuff. You didn't have – I mean, there was no restrictions on the unvaccinated at this point. But it clearly showed how she viewed the unvaccinated. And look, I was a candidate. It's par for the course. This stuff happens. But what it was really showing was a sitting member of parliament. She was showing her view of the unvaccinated people within her electorate and within the country as well. And I think, and I put out a press release about this after this event, that she should apologise, or she should have apologised to the people of Warringah who were unvaccinated with the way that she treated them. Because the optics of it, if you're an unvaccinated person living in Warringah, you're sitting there going, she thinks I'm a leper. She thinks I don't belong anywhere. I have to do a rat test every time I walk into a building. That's what Zali Steggall believes. This is how she treats the unvaccinated people. So definitely she should have apologised. She never did. And she probably never wants to talk about this incident ever again, because this went on social media, went right. Joel Jamal shared it. A whole bunch of other people shared it. And it went right around social media. Her social media was getting bombarded with negative comments against her. A friend of mine said, look, I never believed that these political people had bots, but they do. I can see it in real time. They're deleting messages. They can't even keep up with all the messages coming in that they're trying to delete. But this story wasn't about me. I mean, everyone says, how did you put up with her treating you like that? I think about how she treated all the people watching, because what happened after this was I was bombarded with phone calls, text messages, emails from people right around the country. I even got an email from someone in the UK basically reaching out to show their support. I didn't get any negative feedback at all. It was all positive stuff, people saying, thank you for standing up, thank you for doing what you did. And then the heartbreaking thing of that was I would then ask them, okay, what's your situation? What are you doing? And they would tell me their stories. And that's why I would say that the story of the unvaccinated has not been told, because I would have grown women on the phone crying to me. I remember one lady in particular was a nurse, and she'd been adversely affected by the flu vaccine a year or two before. So she was petrified about taking the COVID vaccination because she thought she was going to have another adverse reaction. And she was risking losing her job. And she'd been a nurse for decades. I mean, this lady was probably in her 50s or 60s, and she was crying on the phone to me about how terrified she was about having to take the vaccine to keep her job. And I wasn't equipped to deal with that. I mean, the best I can do is listen to these poor people and to try and give them some sort of comfort. But it just made me angry. And you can see, like, that cold open I played in the beginning of the episode there, that was after this. You could see I was angry because I could see the impact that these stupid politicians were having on everyday people that are just trying to live their lives. I mean, they don't want to be they just want to be left alone. They just want to be able to go to work. They want to work hard. They want to put a roof over their heads. They want to provide for their family, and they just want government to leave them alone. Yeah. And suddenly you had stupid politicians putting them in a position where their whole world was being turned upside down, where they're crying on the phone to a stranger because they're scared of taking a stupid vaccination. And Zali Steggall was sitting up there like king of the hill, like she's the main authority, going, "Oh, why are you not vaccinated? I mean, why are you not taking a rat test every time you walk into a building?" That's what she showed the people of Virunga and everyone else watching. So, look, I mean, it just made me completely disgusted with these people. They're not in the real world. They don't live with everyday people. They don't understand the true pressures that people are under. They just get up there and they're just motivated by their own ambitions. They just want to get into the parliament because they want to feel like they're special. I mean, she was an athlete, so you can tell that she's very competitive. So that was the main thing from the 22 federal election. That's probably what I'm known for. And Chris Kenny did a report on Sky News, and I got a lot of coverage and stuff out of it. It was a week out from the election, so it probably came a bit too late. I mean, we didn't get I didn't get a huge amount of media or anything like that from it, but that was one thing. That was the main thing from the election. And there was other stuff too, which just funny stories about how badly my campaign was run. I'll tell you a quick story. I had this guy reach out to me, and he'd been in One Nation for a long time. He'd been working in their office at one point, and as soon as he saw me pop up as a candidate, he reached out to me and wanted to be my campaign manager, and he wanted to get paid for it as well, which I didn't agree to. But he thought he was going to get paid for whatever he was doing, and he was just causing mayhem. And what he wanted to do was get this big marquee, one of those ones you see at like one of those country shows or whatever, and he wanted to take it to Brookvale Oval when Manly were playing the football. And we're going to put this big marquee up and all these signs, and we're going to hand out flyers and whatever. So I get there, and he's there in his station wagon, and he's setting up this stupid big marquee. And he's setting it up in a car spot, like a car park. I'm just following his lead, so I just rock up. I didn't really think too much about it. So we're standing there. We set this big marquee up. We set up all these signs. We're standing there with flyers, and there's no one around. Like it's the back entrance of the stadium, and we can see all these people streaming in through the corner there, and we're just watching them all flow in, and we're just standing there looking like idiots, like up the corner. So we're standing there for probably about an hour and a half, and he's double parked the whole time. He just left his car there. And we're like, mate, like, what are you going to, like, and he gone off. Like, he said he was going to put a cork lid off. So he went off. He walked off. So his car's double parked there. We can't move it because we don't have the keys and he's not around. And we start seeing the security guys roaming around, right? And they'd left us alone, but suddenly this security guard came up and he's like, red in the face, and he goes, "You guys have set this stupid marquee up. You've set it up in the disabled spot."
Oh my goodness!
So basically, out the back in the side street at Brookvale Oval, there's an allocated area that they have for disabled people where they pull in and they can walk straight into the stadium. We were blocking that for people, and we'd seen people like cars drive past, and like little old lady in the back, she's looking at us, and they're trying to find a park somewhere, and he's like, "I'm going to report you," and I'm going to, and I'm freaking out, going, "Oh, this is the first time I've ever done anything as a candidate, and suddenly they're going to report me." He's like, your friend there has been double parked for over an hour. I'm going to call this person. I'm going to call that person. So it was an absolute complete disaster. But, that's just one of the funny things that happened during a campaign. And that was the first time that I'd really ever met Sam Bruno as well, because Sam came along and helped me hand up the flyers. And Sam was, you know what Sam's like? Sam was blowing up. Sam's like, "Who is this guy? What's he trying to run a chick raffle here? And that marquee should be at the Mudgee show. It shouldn't be here. We should just be standing on the corner with flyers." And people ask me why I keep Sam around because he does cause a lot of drama. But Sam really, he helped me during that campaign from that point on. He really saved my campaign in a lot of ways, just by being there all the time and making sure that he was looking after me and everything like that. So, look, mate, it was a life event. It was a life-changing event. I'm sure anyone that has run as a candidate anywhere would say that. It's a big test. And, it was very, very interesting. And And I know I've been talking a long time, but then that rolled into 2023, which is a completely other story. I don't know if you want to talk about the 23 election, but that was pretty much the 22 election.
Yeah, wow. What a campaign. That clip, the first time I saw that made my blood boil. I was so angry. Because me and my parents, we all didn't get vaccinated. Both of my parents lost their job. I didn't get social interaction for about 2 years. It was, and to think that someone can say, oh, well, you have to take this medical thing that's untested. It was rushed through the processes and all of that sort of, it was, it made my blood boil. But yeah, what a campaign. And that one was with, was that One Nation you ran with for that one? Yeah.
Well, I've only ever run for One Nation.
Okay.
So,
the
22 federal election was with One Nation, and then the 2023 state election where I ran on the upper house ticket. I was number 6, which is no man's land. Mark Latham basically said, look, there's no point you running in Manly. You're not going to get any votes there. So he basically said that he wasn't going to use me for the 2023 election, which was like pretty like, for me, it was like, but like I got 2% in the Warringah campaign, but I got media out of a lot of this stuff. I mean, there were other things I could probably think about that I've forgotten, but he'd even said that I ran a very good campaign in that 2022 election. So I was a bit surprised that he didn't want to use me. I thought that there was some political capital that I could have used. So basically what happened was I just kept applying for the upper house. And basically, he gave me the number 6 position, I think maybe because he felt sorry for me, because, throw him a bone, put him somewhere, like you're not going to go anywhere. I mean, this upcoming election, the 2027 New South Wales election, if someone put me number 6, if you're One Nation, you might get elected. Like the numbers could go that way. But in 2023, you weren't going to get elected at number 6. But I used that opportunity to show Latham and to prove to the party how hard I was willing to work. So I went and campaigned with a whole host of lower house candidates. I went to Hornsby. I was there quite a lot with Steve Bush. I did a day down in Tarmore. I went to Londonderry. I spent quite a lot of time at Parramatta helping MK Singh there. I developed a good relationship with him. So I really worked my tail off. I went down to Yass one time and spoke to a community group down there. So even though I was number 6, I still treated it as an opportunity to show the leadership of the party, which in New South Wales at the time was Mark Latham and Rod Roberts, how hard I was willing to work and how seriously I was taking it. And it wasn't a fun experience because, I was number 6. Like I didn't really belong anywhere. I didn't feel like I really had a part to play, but I tried to support that campaign as best I could. Up until the point of election day, I didn't even go to the after party because I was so sick. I just worn myself so far into the ground that I ended up being in bed almost delirious just from overexhaustion. So because I was still working, I'd go off to work night shift, and then campaign during the day. So that was really the state election in New South Wales. So I didn't have a huge role. I didn't have a lot of opportunities there, but I did have one speaking engagement, and that's where I was noticed by someone in the Liberal Party, and they came up to me afterwards and they said to me, "You're not One Nation." And they're probably right. I mean, at heart, I'm a Peter Costello, John Howard Liberal. That's what I am. But I guess that person could see that in me, and they said, "You're not One Nation. They're holding you back. You need to go somewhere else." And that's when they tried to get me into the Liberal Party, and that's a whole nother story in itself, trying to sneak me into the Liberal Party, because once you leave the Liberal Party, you join another political party, and then the biggest thing is you run as a candidate against a sitting Liberal, which was or another Liberal Party candidate. That's a no-go. You can't do that. So I had to get snuck into the Liberal Party, which eventually led to me getting expelled from the Liberal Party, which is a whole big story. But that 2023 election was interesting. It wasn't notable for anything that I did as a candidate, but there's two things. One, that was that connection that I made with the Liberal Party, but the other thing as well, I was put on the state executive for One Nation, New South Wales state executive, and I think that was another. I don't know if Mark Latham had a hand in that at all, but some people would told me that he was probably doing it to get me involved somehow. But that led to a very, very interesting meeting that happened after the election where Pauline Hanson and James Ashby really swooped in to take Mark Latham out as leader in New South Wales. And there was a joint national executive meeting and state executive meeting. So basically I'm sitting there right next to Pauline and James Ashby's opposite me and the whole national and state executives where they're talking about knifing Mark Latham. So that was a big experience as well, and there was a lot that came out of that, and that really led to me leaving One Nation, everything that happened there. So, yeah, state election wasn't big in the candidate regard, but the stuff that was going on behind the scenes, it was very significant.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And so then you got headhunted by the Liberals, you got kicked out, and now you're, I think you've described it previously in like political oblivion, like you're sort of in no man's land.
Yeah.
Maybe what do you think is we've discussed here tonight and on other episodes you've discussed this, that whichever party we talk about, whether it's the Liberals who have been captured by the moderates on the left or One Nation whose structure isn't too good and the other minor parties aren't cutting through, what do you think is the solution for someone like, I don't know, whether it's a young person or it's someone in their 40s or 50s or a retiree that wants to get into politics? What do you think is the solution that someone can make the most impact possible despite all of these circumstances? You said no easy question, Stephen.
Mate, if I knew the answer, I'd be doing it. Right?
Yeah.
But look, I look at the Conservative landscape and what we're really missing is leadership. And I've been saying it a lot. I've been saying it since the 2022 federal election. When we haven't had solid Conservative leadership in this country since John Howard. And we even look back at John Howard now, we pick him apart. But at the time, we thought he was great. But since then, there's no one that you can point to and say they were the person that we should get behind. We don't have that Donald Trump figure. We don't. I mean, Donald Trump's losing his mind at the moment, but we've lived for a long time. We don't have the Nigel Farage. We don't even have a Rupert Lowe, really. Like, all we've got is Pauline Hanson. I mean, the Liberals don't even have anyone. I mean, I suppose they've got Jacinda Price, but she's still very young. I would love to see Alex Antic step up. I think Canavan's capable, but
do you think that's because of our preferential system? Like, because the other, like, they have first past the post in the UK, and then in the US they've got a different. Yeah, okay.
No, it's because of the internal party politics, specifically in the Liberal Party. So good candidates get chopped off at the knees. They don't even make their pre-selections. I mean, they put their hand up for pre-selection, but they don't get over the line. And we saw that with Moira Deeming. Moira Deeming should be the leader of the Liberals down in Victoria, but they didn't even support her in her pre-selection. We saw the same thing with Jared Renick. I saw a comment there, someone supporting Jared Renick in the chat. I mean, Jared Renick should be the treasurer of the country, but he didn't even make his pre-selection because of the political games in the background. And when I interviewed Bernie Finn said the Liberal Party is more interested in winning their own internal state conferences and things like that rather than winning elections against the Labor Party. I mean, that's my experience within the Liberal Party, was that their guns are aimed on themselves and there's no weaponry pointed at the Labor Party or even the other parties. I mean, they're just consumed with their own factional infighting, and anyone that's good, and there's good, capable people that have come and gone throughout the years, but they've never had a chance because they get cut off at the knees, and it's because of the Liberal Party and probably to a lesser extent the National Party as well, and they just don't get the opportunity to be put on a platform where they can get elected. So that's probably your answer. And look, I guess the question was, what can people do? Well, the first thing is you have to get active. You have to get involved. I love what you guys are doing by trying something. I mean, you got to understand that politics is a long game, and we could be at this for 20 or 30 years before we get anywhere. I mean, that's just the stark reality. You look at our Anthony Albanese. in politics 30 years before he became Prime Minister. John Howard was the same. I mean, you have to be in the system working hard for a very long time before you get anywhere. So I think all of us are in our infancy. Even people like Joel Jamar, I mean, he hasn't even been around for a very long time, maybe 5 or 6 years. I mean, he's still in his infancy. Topher Field is probably the same. I mean, maybe 10 years he's been around. He could have a big part to play in the future. So I think there's pieces of the puzzle there. And when we look back one day, we'll go, okay, we could see how it was all formulating. But right now, I can understand that people are just going like, man, we're stuffed. Like, we're just stuffed.
Yeah. People I talk to all the time, they're like, oh, it's all going, like, everything's going a downward spiral. There's no point of being involved. But that's the thing with politics. It is a long game. Look, I know in America, they tried to overturn Roe v. Wade. It took them 50 years to overturn Roe v. Wade, the pro-life movement over there. So like stuff like that here, it's not going to happen overnight. We've seen the rise of One Nation, and whether that's substantial in the long run or not, again, that's about the long game. But Riley, I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, I heard that you just said Trump is losing his mind. So I would like to hear a more detailed explanation of why you said that, if that's...
Well, look, I think the main thing is the war in Iran. And look, I don't know how much of his base, whether it was a big part of it or half of it or maybe a minute part of it, who knows. But I think based on the polls, I think a sizable percentage of his base supported Donald Trump because he was the president that was for no new wars. He used to say, hey, no new wars under Donald Trump. People are sick of it. People don't want to be seeing America. And here in Australia too, I mean, I think we feel the same way. We're sick of the wars. We're sick of the Middle East wars.
We just celebrated Anzac Day. Yeah.
Look, we were talking about World War II before we came on. And look, when you watch documentaries of World War II and they're focusing on the battles and they're making it sound very glamorous, that's one thing. But when you really listen to the diary accounts of soldiers, even everyday civilians on all sides, doesn't matter which side you were on, it was horrific.
Yeah.
War is horrific. And I don't care if you're Israeli or Ukrainian or Russian or Palestinian or living in Iran. You shouldn't have to live anywhere where you got missiles flying over you and bombs flying over you, and you shouldn't be in a situation where you could potentially be digging out, your 2-year-old, 3-year-old daughter or son that's had limbs blown off. And we need to move past this as a society and move past the bullshit propaganda that we get.
Yeah, 100%. That's the media we watch, just mainstream media.
Like, I don't know how many people come up to me and say, well, they're all terrorists. They grow up believing that, they hate us and blah, blah, blah. Well, that could be true, right? But, have you ever been there? Have you been to the Middle East? Have you been to Lebanon? Have you been to Iraq? Have you been to Iran? Have you seen it for yourselves? Because if you've seen it for yourselves, I think you're credible in having an opinion. But if you haven't, you're just regurgitating what you've heard in the media. I mean, Iran is a country of 90 million people. It's a huge place. It's not a desert. It's not, it's not what it's painted to be. And I think people, I've noticed it specifically in people that are younger, my age and younger. I think they've grown up in the country, and I spoke to this about Victor DL, who I had on recently. He said the exact same thing as what I'm about to say now. We've grown up in the multicultural Australia. For better or worse, we've grown up in that. And we've mixed with people of all different races and creeds and colours and whatever. We've mixed with people that are Lebanese. Whether they're Christian Lebanese or Muslim Lebanese, we've mixed with them. We've mixed with people that are from Iraq. We've mixed with people who are from Iran or Persian. And at the end of the day, you sit back and you go, look, they're all just everyday people that just want to provide for their family and get on with things. They're not terrorists. And it's some of the nicest people I've met. are Lebanese. So I mean, and there's rat bags as well. I remember one of my first jobs was working in Punch Bowl in Sydney, and I'd get off the bus and I'd have a pack of I'm a shit or some sort of Arab. I don't know where they were from, and they were heckling me, calling a Skippy, and you know, trying to cause drama and you know, they could have been looking to bash me. I don't know. I got the hell out of there. But look, there's good and bad in every race, in every country, in every type of people. There's good and there's good and bad. I mean, even in churches, there's good and bad, right? It's just human nature. Yeah. So I think people are sick of the wars because they just don't believe the bullshit propaganda that there's good guys and there's bad guys, and some group is justified for everything that they do, and the other group, they're all terrorists and they're not justified in anything that they do. I think people will just pass that and they just say, move on. We're sick of it. Yeah. We're sick of the wars. And I think when Donald Trump went into Iran and started talking about obliterating the civilization in one day and all this sort of stuff, people were just going, no, this is not what we want. This is not what we were on the Trump train for. I mean, one of the biggest things was we wanted you to go in there and dismantle the deep state, get rid of all the elites and get rid of the swamp and get rid of the military-industrial complex that are pushing for all this stuff. We want you to get rid of those guys, not the everyday people living in Iran.
Look, schools and stuff, yeah.
And look, he went after the Ayatollah, all right? I don't have a huge problem with that. I mean, I don't have a huge problem with him going after leadership. It's like back in the old days where the kings would fight each other. And I mean, if you want to be the leader of a country and you want to play that political game and you want to play that brinksmanship game, okay, fine, right? Do that. I remember growing up in Sydney and the bikies would be off killing each other every night, and people would just shrug their shoulders and go, well, look, as long as they're not hurting innocent people and then just fighting amongst themselves, then who cares? And I think it's the same thing with politics. If the leaders of these nations want to duel it out amongst themselves, then go for it, but leave the everyday people out of it. And when you start having bombs flying around and missiles flying around, then innocent people are going to be the casualties of war, collateral damage, or whatever you want to call it, and no one wants it. No, particularly the younger people. And I've noticed the older people, for whatever reason, like
boomers.
I don't know what it is about their generation, but they seem to want it more than the younger ones, and the younger ones are just like, nah, we don't want this anymore. And when Trump went into Iran, he lost a lot of support. And look, we hope that he can turn it around. What we want him to do, and I'm an Australian saying this, I can't vote in America. You know, all the things that Trump's going to do is really going to benefit America, but we want to see America succeed as well. I want to see every country succeed. But we would like to see Trump go after Epstein, the Epstein files, and expose all that. That's what we really want him to do. We want him to expose the alien stuff. Yeah, go after that. We want to hear about RFK, the assassination, JFK assassination, Martin Luther King assassination. We want you to get your economy in order. We want people to live prosperous in America. We want to see social cohesion in America. We don't want to see the same old thing where you're just going off to war and focusing on what the military industrial complex wants you to do. So when I say he's lost his mind, he's going against his base, and he's even attacking his own base. He's attacking people like Tucker Carlson. He's attacking people like Candace Owens. He's attacking people like Alex Jones. Alex Jones has supported Donald Trump since 2016. And Alex Jones has lost a lot. He's lost his whole – I mean, he was sued for like $1 billion or something ridiculous, right? For supporting Trump. I mean, it was about Sandy Hook and whatever, but really they went after him because of Trump. And for Trump to just come out and attack him because of one issue, I mean, that's what I mean when I say Trump has lost his mind.
Yeah, that's honestly so base. And what you were saying before about the aspect that
I'm not up with the lingo. What's based? I know I'm saying that I'm not.
That means that you're on point. You're doing really well with like your opinions. Like I really agree with that. That's like a base kind of
Okay. I got to keep up with the lingo of you guys.
But
that's like 10 years old too.
Oh, come on, John.
Sorry.
Yeah, so you were saying that older people are more pro-war, but younger people are anti-war. And I'm thinking, where do we consume our media? So younger people are consuming podcasts, alternative media, and older people are watching news at 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and just that's their whole worldview based on an hour of news in the nighttime. So I think that also plays a big role. What do you think?
No, I agree with you completely. I think that's what it is. I think you've explained it. That's what it is. And I used to think that when I was campaigning against the Teals, I'd be standing there going, where do you guys get your news from? I remember talking to one guy. I was campaigning in Pittwater, the Pittwater by-election, and he was a Teal. And I asked him, I said, how do you feel about the environmental destruction that's taking place with the rollout of wind and solar? And he said, he looked at me and he said, well, that's happening in the desert. I mean, who cares? It's not happening in the desert. You know how far away the bloody desert is? And you know how many kilometers of transmission lines you would need to get to the bloody desert to bring the power in from it's happening on prime agricultural land. And I've been there. I did the tour only a few weeks ago. I went out to Dunedoo. I went out to Geary and Wellington, and I saw those places with my own eyes, and they're not. And I scratched my head going, where are you getting your news from? And I think you hit the nail on the head, Riley. Younger people are watching people like Alex Jones. They're watching Tucker Carlson with the podcast. Hey, I watch Piers Morgan. I know a lot of people hate Piers Morgan, but the good thing about Piers Morgan is he has both sides on. And that's I mean, it was amazing to me. I mean, I was completely apathetic about the whole Middle East until I start watching the Palestinians talk and then the Israelis talk and going, hang on a second, like there's something not right here. And you point to a lot of those podcasters and they're all anti-war. None of them want war. And sometimes I listen to Sky News and I'm just like, what? Like it's completely separate. And even Fox News, I know people that watch Fox News and I say, you've got to stop watching that stuff. Because it's propaganda. It really is. And I mean, look, the podcasters as well. I had Mike Ryan on the show recently who used to run TNT Radio, and he said, look, they're all bought and paid for. They're getting money from somewhere. They're getting money from Qatar, or they're getting money from China, or they're getting money from Israel, or whatever. Yeah. So you got to be very careful when you're watching the podcasters as well. But generally, they do long-form discussions like this, and it's a lot harder to mask the propaganda in a way. I mean, it still shines through, but when you're doing the shorter clips, I think it's a lot easier. But when you really got to flesh out an issue, you really got to present both sides and have people on that are contrarian to your own views. So. Yeah, mate, I think you're right on the money with that point.
I just that's what I've experienced. I've that's just like a generalization, but that's kind of what I got out of it. But I'll throw it back at John.
Right, thank you, Riley. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. The way media, and I think maybe one thing young people are slowly getting better at is not just following, like, I think like a lot of like people like maybe my parents' age and older that they'll just watch one channel like for the news and they'll just watch that their whole life. They don't like look at other media sources. Like they'll read either the one newspaper their whole life or they'll watch one news channel like Channel 7 or Channel 9, 24, whatever it is. Whereas young people on social media, they'll be watching like different influences from different contrary perspectives on different sides of the argument. So they're not just hearing one perspective, they're hearing people arguing and debating. Like debates have become huge over the past 15 years online, whereas that was like a thing you'd like record, put on DVD, and then someone might buy it, but it's mostly for the live audience, where now debates are a huge thing where you see contrary views. But let's get into this point. You mentioned
let me ask you guys. You guys are young. Where do you get your news from? I know Commanding the Narrative is the top podcast that you listen to, but what are the other sources? I mean, like, do you guys watch the ABC? Do you watch Sky News? I mean, where do you get your stuff from?
You want to go first, Riley?
Yeah, sure. Definitely not ABC nor the Sky News. I can guarantee that. I will admit I like to watch a bit of Tucker Carlson. I really do like his take on a lot of things. I have watched Nick Fuentes. He's also pretty good. And they're the two main ones I watch. I have watched a couple of clips on ABC and iView, but I just can't get into the whole, I guess, the propaganda aspect of it. They try and push their ideals, and it's just like not mainstream media at all, I don't think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What about you, John?
Yeah, I'm not as based as Riley, but I don't watch the ABC, that's for sure. I regret it whenever my grandpa puts it on TV. I'm like, why are we watching this rubbish? But anyways, Sky News, I'm not in the country, so I couldn't get it for free even if I did want to watch it. But there is one podcast I listen to from Sky News called The Late Debate. I don't mind some of their people, but I feel like sometimes they're just always talking about the same thing. It's not really that interesting. But in terms of podcasts, Community Narrative is my top 5. Spotify said so at the end of last year. Other Side by Damien Coury, John Anderson's podcast occasionally, Freya Leach, some of her stuff. Carl Stefanovic's podcast has actually been reasonable, which I was surprised at. I listened to a lot of the clips from like 2GB and 3AW and stuff like that. Not the whole show, but just like little clips here and there. Ben Fordham and Tom Elliott. And then other podcasts like Two Worlds Collide, 2020, Club Grubbery, not Glub. I think those are the main ones. Some of the IPA's ones, Dr. Joanna Howe on abortion. But yeah, that's where I get a lot of my stuff from different, and a lot of those people, they don't all have the same conservative perspectives. They have a range of, like, from some will be more anti-war, others will be more pro-America, whatnot. Some of them will be more pro-war, and so you get different perspectives. Like, I've got Tucker Carlson in my podcasting thing, and every now and again I'll tune in to be like, okay, this is what people that I don't completely agree with, sometimes I do agree with, and I'll listen, and I'll try and make sure I'm not in that sort of bubble all the time. Try and get out of that bubble and hear what other people are saying.
Can I will say this, because you mentioned 2GB, and one of the things that we've really lost on the right side of politics in this country, and people are hesitant to say this anymore because he's on charges for touching up some young bloke, but Alan Jones. We are missing Alan Jones on the right side of politics, because the way that he used to formulate an argument and how well researched that he was, he gave everyone talking points to go out into battle, and he would win elections just on his own, just by just bombarding the airways with the same message over and over and over again. And he used to say, when I'm sick of saying it, that's when they finally start to listen. And you have to do that. Yeah, I mean, he would just come up with the same, he'd read them off a sheet of paper and just hammer them over and over and over again. And look, I mean, I know it's taboo to praise him nowadays, and probably rightfully so after what he's accused of. But we don't have anyone like that anymore in Australia. And look, I consume a lot of my information from America. I mean, I watch Patrick Bet-David, I watch Piers Morgan, Tim Pool, Alex Jones. I don't watch them all the time, but I watch some. Tucker Carlson. I'm in and out of a few of them. I just don't have time for the Australian stuff. I mean, I barely watch my own podcast. I mean, I have to watch it to get clips and stuff. And when I say watch it, I really just listen. I listen on my way to work, or I listen when I'm at the gym. That's really the only time I get to devote to this sort of stuff. But there's a lot of Australian stuff out there that probably is worth listening to. That there's just not a huge audience of it, because there's so much American stuff that just swamps the market. And there's good people out there like Mark Neugebauer. He does a great podcast, and he's just started doing the podcast for Australians for Better Government. And he's I noticed that when I was interviewed by him. He's very well researched. He has some great questions. He's a very good podcaster. But a lot of people probably haven't found him because they're, I guess, looking at the big players from America. Joe Rogan, how many views and stuff does he get? Sean Ryan, people like that.
Sean Ryan's great too. I forgot to mention Sean Ryan. I watch heaps of his stuff.
Yeah, but I just remembered a point that I wanted to make as well, and this is a little bit what I'm concerned about, especially with people like Nick Fuentes. We've just lived through a period of woke and things being very, very hard on the left. And what has happened in history is when they go too far left, they can go too far right. And sometimes it's by design. I mean, we're just cattle being moved around by the elites, right? And they're just directing us which way to go. And I'm a bit concerned the younger generations following people like Andrew Tate and Nick Fuentes. I mean, you could probably point to a lot of this stuff and say, hey, but what they're saying is correct, but you got to be careful. You got to be careful not to go too far, too hard. You want to be trying to get. And I know I got called a centrist the other day. I don't know if that's true or not. Some people would say I'm far right, but I think you've got to judge every situation based on element of we're all trying to live in this country together. But what I see on X nowadays is this this revisionist history of World War II. They're going back to the National Socialists and Hitler and Goebbels and watching their speeches, and now they're saying, hey, they were right all along. And I look at that sort of stuff and I go, you have to be very, very careful because we have been pushed so far left. There's a risk of swaying too far right, and I think we have to be conscious of that. I'm not saying that everything that's being put out there is incorrect, but just be conscious of that because you don't want to go too far right either. You want to be somewhat, as close to swaying between, I guess, the center and the right as you can, because these people are very influential in how they put their arguments forward. But I think you should always, at the end of the day, sit back and think about things yourself, and sometimes just go to the beach or go to the city and just watch people, and then think about all the things that they're saying. Because a lot of them, whether they be Fox News or Sky News or ABC or even the podcasters, a lot of their stuff is doom and gloom. And when you go down to the beach and see everyone mingling and happy and having a nice time, you kind of sit back and go, "Hey, things are not as bad as what they say." Sometimes you've got to take your head out of the box and get out in the real world and realize, hey, no, we do live in a great country and we do have a great society, and there are a lot of good people out there. But what the biggest problem is, we need a better government.
Definitely. I was going to say that would be a great follow-up to that would be there's bad in the world, but there's also good, and that's Jesus Christ. Yeah. John, can we start with this one?
Thanks for the lead-in, Riley. I appreciate it. All right, Stephen. Well,
Richard just called me a centrist. Thanks. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's good or bad coming from Richard either. As a libertarian, not a very good one. But you've seen the conservative movement over the past few years. You've been involved in podcasting, and you've had Christians and non-Christians on alike talking about conservatism and Australia's roots in Christianity. Why are you not a Christian yet, Stephen?
Good, hard questions. I like it. I'm agnostic. Which basically means I have no idea. I don't. I mean, I've spoken to. I mean, you guys would probably tell me that your relationship with Christ and God. I remember speaking to Colin Grigg, who was a Senate candidate for One Nation in 2022, and he looked me in the eye and he said, and he's a pastor as well, and he looked me in the eye and he said, I know God exists. He's almost like he's spoken to him. I've never had that. I've never had that experience. If you ask me if God exists, I don't know. I have no idea, and that's probably where I base my belief in. I have no idea. But a lot of people say that I probably should be Christian because I do agree with a lot of the Christian teachings, but especially when it comes to government. And I think this is where we get confused. During the pandemic, and I probably should give you a little bit of history. So I was baptized Church of England. My grandparents were religious, or not overtly religious, but they were religious. My parents weren't really religious. They definitely wouldn't really ever talk about it. So I wasn't exposed to it really growing up. later on, I went to a Catholic school. I went to St Mary's Cathedral College in Sydney, but they didn't push it down your throat. And religious class was more about ethics more than religion. Like, it wasn't so Bible orientated. It wasn't really until the pandemic and I came across Mari Emmanuel, and he was focusing a lot on the relationship between the teachings of the Bible and how government should operate. And I agreed completely with him. And it basically comes down to the point that, hey, you're all children of God. You're all created in his image. So there shouldn't be this authoritarian leader telling you what to do. You should have free will. And I think we get confused, and I think the media has a big part to play in this when they say Australia is a Christian nation, but the census shows that Christianity is on the decline and there's only such and such percentage of Christians. They're missing the point. When they say that Australia is a Christian country, and they're not saying, oh, it's full of Christians. It's saying that it's built on Christian values. There's a big difference. And I agree completely with the Christian values. This is where I would have a problem when I would watch Mari Emmanuel. He would be talking about Christian values. I would be completely on board. Then he would hold up his cross and he'd say something like, Jesus is my lover, or I love him. And we should all get down on our knees and worship him. And that's where I have when it gets into the worshiping part of things, that's where I have an issue. Because I'm like, I guess it's like, it's they say equality. Well, it's the ultimate equality. Okay, yeah, if you are God and you are this supreme being, that's great. But do we really have to worship you? Do we have to go to church all the time? That part of things I don't understand. And you guys can yell at me if you like, or correct me, or steer me in the right direction. I feel like that will probably happen at some point in my life where someone takes me by the neck and says, "No, Stephen, you're getting all of this wrong." But that's where I have a bit of a problem with religion. I think we should all be free. We should all be, have our own free will. And I don't think we should be worshipping anyone or anything. And that's a problem that I have with religion. But if you ask me why the biggest reason I'm not religious is because I just don't know. I haven't had a connection to God. I don't feel any connection there. I guess I'm void of any feeling. So there's my answer.
Well, you're not wrong, Stephen. I mean, it says in Ecclesiastes that we have a heart of stone, and God has to make it a heart of flesh. So you're pretty spot on. But
Mark Lauderdale says you are a Christian, you just don't know it yet. A lot of people say that to me.
I wouldn't put it like that, but I mean, you're not far. I feel like a lot of people in recent years we've seen a conservative. And we've sort of seen them coming towards Christianity. I'm like, you're so close, you're almost there. And just like praying and waiting. But I feel like on that worship thing, for me, I think that's a very valid point, that why should we worship anyone? And I think the point for us as Christians is we would only worship someone if they only truly deserved it. So we don't worship any person. We don't worship any ruler. We don't worship... the only person we can worship is God, because we believe he's the only one who is worthy of worship.
I'm not saying he's not. If he exists, he's definitely worthy.
Yeah, if he exists,
obviously, one of the other things they say is that you should give yourself over to Christ. I'm like, why? I'm not capable of living my own life. And I feel like if you were to give yourself over to Christ, then you just become this empty vessel. Like, you're just being directed around, and you're just like, oh. I mean, that just doesn't gel with me. It just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's not supposed to. That's the point. Because I like the point of Christianity is you're basically giving up. I don't know how to put it in a way that it isn't harsh, but you're basically giving up your whole life to God, because you believe that he determines what is good and what is right, and he is the only one that can tell you. When I became a Christian at a very young age, so I didn't have sort of the experience of sort of being in one way and then changing dramatically. But I feel like for a lot of people that that change, it doesn't have to be giving up something good for something that's like empty and soulless and sad. I think it's giving up something that you thought was good for something that's eternally better. I don't think the point of Christianity isn't like, oh, you just live a good life and then you get to heaven one day and you get to live eternally. I think the point is, it says in the Westminster Catechism, I think in the 1600s, the point of your life is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. And so basically when you become a Christian, your life isn't your own anymore. To some extent, like, it's not that we don't have free will, but it's that we have free will to live a much better life than we ever would have if we weren't a Christian. That's what I would put it. I don't know if you would put it different, Riley.
And see, that doesn't sit comfortably with me as well. You know, when they tell you, "Oh, you're all born a sinner," it's like I haven't even done anything yet.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't get that. And like they say, okay, well, you should give yourself over to Christ because then you can live a good life, and you know how to live and be a good person. It's like, don't I know how to do that already? Like, that's like, I feel like the argument is not fleshed out enough. Like, it's not strong enough to really grab me.
Yeah. Well, it depends what you define as good, Stephen, because how do you know what's good and what's evil?
Well, that's true. No, I agree with you. I mean, I've heard all those arguments. I mean, I think the definition of Luciferianism is basically thinking that you can define good and evil. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so basically you're saying, okay, well, I don't need anyone to tell me what's good or evil. I make that decision myself, and then I can go. And if I think it's okay to kill people, then as long as I think that's okay, then that's okay. Obviously, that's an extreme example, but it's more just to prove the point. So, I mean, I've heard all those arguments before, but you know when you hear an argument and it just grabs you. And you're just like, even if you don't agree with it straight away, you're just like, okay, there's something there. I need to work that out. When it comes to Christianity, and I hear people talk about it, it just sounds like this wishy-washy stuff that just doesn't grab me. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just not old enough yet. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, I think at some point you will come to that. I think there will be that argument that grips you, and I don't think Christianity is a wishy-washy. I understand how it looks like it is a wishy-washy religion, but I'd certainly say it's very substantive. And I think if you can find a worldview that answers where did we come from, where are we going when we die, what's our purpose on earth. I think there's like one or two other questions. But if you can find a worldview that answers those in a substantive way that stands up to scrutiny, then I think you found it. But I think you'll get there eventually, Stephen. It's just it's just
all the people,
timing.
All the people that are watching this on the Young Conservatives for Christ channel are going, that guy was. I like that guy until now. Turning it off.
They probably liked you before you started saying BS, but
I've got a really good comment here from Innocent Bystander. It says, I think historically religion was a fear mechanism. We have Labor for that now. Very good comment. Dave says, have you ever read the Bible, Stephen? I haven't read it cover to cover, no. I mean, I was, as I said, I went to a Catholic school and you would read Bible verses and stuff like that, but no, I haven't read the Bible, no.
Yeah. Riley?
I probably should. I have a feeling I should. I mean, that's the thought
I think you should, Stephen. I think you should
again, it doesn't make sense to me. I read it, and I'm not. Firstly, I don't like reading, and people
audiobook.
Yeah.
Bible audio.
There's multiple translations. It depends which translation you read. Don't read the Passion version because that is that's a fake.
Okay.
I would do the NIV or the ESV. One of those two.
Mark says, "No, we'll just continue to pray for you, Stephen." Okay, thanks, Mark. I'll take it.
Oh, yeah. No, we will. But, yeah, I think you should read I'd start with the Book of John, too. It's a bit biased coming from me, but a lot of people say start with the Book of John.
Okay. No, I mean, I should. And, maybe I'll ask you for what the best audio book is, and that can be my homework. We can come back and do
Okay.
this podcast in a year's time, and
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be like, now you
I'll be
have to be a
studying to be
Christian,
a
buddy.
priest.
Like a lot of people say that, and then that actually happens. So be careful what you wish for, Stephen.
Yeah.
Riley, do you have anything else, or do you reckon we'll go to the word association game?
Ooh, I think the word association game sounds fun.
Okay. All right. Let's go there. Do you want to read the first one, Riley, and then we'll go back and forth between 1 and 2?
All right, first word. So MAGA.
Divided.
Okay. Ralph Babette.
Doesn't reply to emails.
Yeah, that's right. We've had that problem with the March of the Baby, but yeah.
All right, welcome to country.
Oh, well, we're fed up with it. I mean, you saw that at the Anzac ceremonies. People don't want to be welcomed to their country that they're indigenous to. I was born here. My parents were born here. My grandparents were born here. Probably my great-grandparents were born here. I'm indigenous to Australia. We interviewed Kerry White, who was an Aboriginal elder. She said the exact same thing. She said, if you're born here, you're indigenous. You're one of our brothers and sisters. And it's just virtue signaling, and it's divisive as well because, look, I mean, it's bringing a lot of negative energy towards the Aboriginal people as well, and they probably don't want to see that either. No one wants to see what happened. Any time that the welcome to country is booed, no one wants to see that. But people that are there, I'm sure they feel like they have to prove a point. We don't want this, and we never asked for it. We never went to a vote. We never agreed to it. It was forced upon us, and we're sick of it. It's done.
Based. That's based.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get a base tattoo.
Or maybe a T-shirt. Make it one for your shop.
Okay. Yeah.
Fatima Payman.
I don't know enough about her. Look, I think if you look at her voting history, particularly when it comes to freedom of speech, she's been very good.
Bondi Massacre.
Jeez. I think it was a wake-up call, and it should have been a soul-searching event for the country.
Yeah.
One Nation.
The party itself?
Yes, let's do the party. Yeah,
a lot of good good everyday Australians, soul of the earth Australians in that party.
Family First.
Look, I don't know enough about them. Lyle Shelton's all right, but what happened to Bernie Finn was a bit weird. So yeah, I probably don't have enough knowledge of the inner workings of Family First to say anything credible.
Okay. The Iranian War.
Shouldn't be happening. Probably, look, they got rid of the Ayatollah. They got rid of the head honchos. I think it's gone as far as it needs to go.
Gen Z.
Is that you guys?
Yeah, that's us. Be careful.
No, I have a lot of hope for you guys. I think that you guys, we're going to talk about. If we're talking about who's going to save this country, look, I think my generation, which I think is technically the millennials, the ones that grew up without the internet. So I still remember the day of having to go into the city to meet a friend, and a lot of the time you wouldn't even have a mobile phone. You would just say, meet at Town Hall steps at 12 o'clock, and then you'd wait around for 45 minutes, and if they didn't show up, you'd just go home and wait for the phone call on the landline at the end of the day. I think my generation can see both sides because we grew up with the technology as well. I think we are going to be very important if we ever bloody decide to do anything. But you guys, I think, hopefully, look, you're going to be pulling the reins of power eventually. You're generally very left. A lot of people say that you guys will be the most conservative generation of all. So, look, it all comes down to you at the end of the day. I think you guys are really going to sway the direction of the whole world, really. in which direction humanity goes. So it's up to you guys.
Very good. Good answer. Albanese.
Mate, I grew up in Albanese as electorate, right?
Okay.
And of Grainler, and his poster used to go up, or Caulfield used to go up every time at election time. And you're just like, that goober again, like you never saw him, you never saw him in the electorate, you never heard from him. He looked weird, and he was always he'd always get re-elected. It's just like, why? Like, why people? I mean, there was never Liberals would barely run in Grainler. Like, it was always a heavy Labor seat, but you just like, you never thought he would amount to anything. I think even Bob Hawke said that. And the fact that he's Prime Minister now just shows how bad of a situation we're in.
Angus Taylor.
A dud. Not interested.
Dud.
You want to elaborate on that?
I just don't. I mean, I guess he's like religion. I just don't feel anything. He's got this paper cutout. Like he's got no substance. I just don't. I mean, they just replaced one dud with the other. It's like, so what? No one cares. No one's listening.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's true.
They'll get rid of him as well.
Okay. Richard Storch.
Oh God, the devil. Talk about Lucifer. Yeah.
What about renewable energy?
Scam. Total scam.
The Liberal Party.
Probably gone. No one's listening to it anymore. And I don't see how it comes back. They don't have the leadership to bring it back. There's no John Howard waiting in the wings coming to save the day this time.
Constitutional monarchy.
It suited us. It suited us up until this point, but we need to have a look at it. I mean, that's why we're trying to do everything that we're doing at Australians for Better Government, so people start to think about our constitution and our system. And I say that it's worked for us well up until this point, but I've always felt very uncomfortable that our head of state is not Australian. And I think I guess that makes me a Republican, but I think we need to come to that decision. But at the same time, the monarch has, and John Ruddock said this once. He said the best thing about the monarch is that they're born into that role, so there's no dispute. So, an American, basically the president is the head of state of America. Yeah, they have an election. It can be disputed. People say it was rigged, it was this, it was that, and that causes conflict. But with a monarch, it's born into that role. So there's no dispute there. So that provides stability. So I think that's where it's worked. So whether or not Australia has to pick its own king and queen, or we just elect our Governor General, I mean, that's up to the Australian people. But I feel very uncomfortable with our head of state or having any links to another country other than Australia. I think we should govern ourselves.
Okay. Donald Trump.
Lost his mind. I hope he comes back, but we're all I feel very disappointed by him.
Australia.
At least the Epstein files, that might turn it around.
Australia was the next one.
Greatest country in the world, has the most potential in the world. We've not even come close to the potential that we have, and if we unlock the potential that we have, we could be one of the most powerful nations ever. But the thing that we've always lacked is leadership and good governance.
Okay.
Good answer.
Pauline Hanson.
I want to have faith in her. And when I left the party, and people would ask me why I left the party, and I would tell them the reasons why. People don't want to hear anything negative about Pauline because they feel like the expression that they would have on their face is like, oh, no, not her too. A lot of people. I mean, she's almost like the last hope that we have in this country. And look, it never works out that way. But there's always someone that comes along or a movement that comes along. But I think a lot of people feel like that at this point, that she's the last hope. But I just don't think she's up to it.
Nuclear power.
I was very concerned about it up in leading into the 2022 federal election. I had some people supporting me that were saying, no, we want you to advocate for it. So I reached out to some nuclear physicists, one notably Dr. John Harries at the Australian Nuclear Association. One of my first questions was, hey, I grew up in The Simpsons. I saw the green sludge out of the barrels and all the toxic waste. Can you tell me a little bit about nuclear waste? And his reply was, what waste? I'm like, what are you talking about, what waste? He's like, you dig uranium up out of the ground, you enrich it, you put it in a reactor, you deplete it, and you store it somewhere afterwards. I mean, what waste? I mean, it's already in the ground. Uranium's already there. And that completely changed my view of nuclear, and I've done a lot of deep dives into it. And I think, I think we don't really need it if we just stick with coal. But if we really want to be emissions-free, then the only answer is nuclear.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Mainstream media.
Over, finished, and there's no point to it. There isn't. What point is there, really? I mean, it's all garbage.
Yeah.
And the podcasters out there, that's the free market. It really, I mean, if you want to be successful, then you're going to have to get people watching you. You've got to get followers. You've got to work hard. It's not just offered up on a silver platter, which mainstream media is and has been in this country. I mean, we've only had Channel 9 and 10 and 7, and you would turn on the TV, you'd have to watch one of them. It was easy for them. It's not easy anymore. And I think mainstream media is, I think it will always be around in some capacity, but no one's listening anymore, apart from maybe older people.
Our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Oh, mate. This is the hardest question of all. I really don't have an opinion. I mean, if he's real, then I'm all on board. Sign me up. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, if he's real, if God's real and Jesus is real, then I'm there fighting the battle with you guys. But yeah, I just don't. I mean, I guess he was real historically, but whether he was able to do miracles and stuff, I have no idea. So yeah, I wasn't there, so I don't know.
All right, we'll get you one day, Stephen. Mark Latham.
Here we go. Yeah, we didn't talk about this tonight.
No.
Very complicated. Very complicated. And I didn't get on well with him, despite the fact that there's people high up in One Nation that claim that I'm a Mark Latham spy. I haven't spoken to Mark Latham since 2023. But despite the fact that we never really got on, and I used to try and keep myself away from Mark Latham because I just knew that we just didn't gel together, I will always credit him, and I will always have, I guess, a degree of loyalty there, because when I lost my job during the pandemic and there was no leadership, there was no one advocating for people that was losing their jobs or choosing to be unvaccinated, I reached out to a whole host of politicians and people in the media to tell them about what had happened to me, and I didn't get one reply, except I got a phone call one day. I was at Birkenhead Point just doing some shopping, and it was Mark Latham, and he called to see if he could help. And I think that proved that he's a true politician in the sense of what they should be, an elected representative, where he had a constituent that was reaching out to them with a problem and he was trying to help. And he did try and help. He wasn't successful because it was like batting your head up against a wall at that time. But he tried, and I will always acknowledge him for that.
Looking down the list, I can't. Oh, wait, here we go. This is a good one. Zali Steggall.
Zali. Oh, jeez. I don't think there's enough negative things in the vocabulary to say about it. This is a fraud. I mean, one of the things that happened when I was campaigning against her was that when you run in a federal election, you're meant to disclose donations when they're over a certain amount. I think back then it was like $14,600. And she was having a coal investor, coal baron, donate to her. But they tried to split it up, so it was a little bit under that 14,600 figure. So it was multiple donations under that amount, so they wouldn't have to disclose it. But when he just paid with a check or just put the money straight into her account, so it came in as one lump sum. So the Electoral Commission said, "What's this?" And she was trying to hide it, but to cover it up, she just turned around and said, "Oh, it was a rookie mistake. It was a rookie error." Hey, if you're a candidate, right, in an election, like I know the Teal spent a lot of money. Allegra spent over $2 million. Zali Steggall spent $750,000 in that campaign. I spent $6,000, right? If I had $100,000 show up in my bank account, I'm not making a rookie error. And a lot of candidates out there, if they had $100,000 rock up in their account, they're not making rookie errors either. It was BS that she said that, and she knew exactly what she was doing, in my opinion. And I think that sums up Zali. She talks about integrity. There's not an ounce of integrity in her.
Okay. That's fair. We'll finish off with this one. Australia's future.
Look, we are always going to have a bright future despite ourselves, because we're so blessed with resources, with agriculture, with so many different things. But we have so much potential that we haven't even begun to tap into. And we don't have any credible leadership that are putting forward ideas for this country. And I've tried to do a little bit of it on this platform. I interviewed John Alexander talking about high-speed rail. I think that's something that could really bring a lot of benefit to this country. We need to get our energy in order. We need to be energy self-reliant, not energy dependent. We have to get our immigration in order. I'm not against immigration, but we definitely need to control it. And we need to have pride in this country. One of the things I talk about at Australians for Better Government is, why should you be interested in government? And if you have pride in yourself, if you have pride in your family, and if you have pride in your people, your country, then you want a successful government. You want government to succeed. You want a government to work for you and for the country. And that's the situation that we need to get to. And that will make us a stronger country if we can get to that situation. But at the moment, it's all about guilt. Oh, we're horrible people, and you need to be welcome to your own country, and we can't celebrate Australia Day because it's really Invasion Day, and nothing that we ever did here was any good. Blah 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 blah. So we need a revolution in thinking in this country and how we view ourselves.
Yeah, that's really good. I think we've got a lot of hope, and I appreciate it, Stephen. It's been a great conversation. We finally get to hear from you instead of from everyone else.
Yeah. I hope it was worth it.
Oh no, it was definitely worth it. Oh, this is going to be the highest rated podcast of the year.
It better be. It better be. I'm going to find where you live, John, if it's not.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, to our audience, when we upload this to our platform, make sure to follow Steven and his stuff. Is doing amazing work with the Commanding the Narrative podcast, and just started Australians for Better Government podcast. Sorry, you should become a member of Australians for Better Government, as I have done. They're doing great work.
Can I just plug quickly?
Yes.
I want to say quickly. Everyone that watches Commanding the Narrative would know this, but it's next weekend. So if you head for AustraliansForBetter.com, which is the website for Australians for Better Government, and you scroll down to these upcoming events, we are going to be on the Central Coast, Saturday, May 2nd. It's next weekend, next Saturday at the Lasso Estate Function Room. It's going to be a great event. Dr. Christopher Reynolds is coming down from Queensland. So is Katie McCallum. Martin Stevenson's going to be there. I'm going to be there as well. So if you listen to this podcast and you want to pick my brain some more, please come along. We'd love to see you there. Tickets are only $20. It's going to be a great and important event, I think, because these events are always great to hear from people. They come along, they share their ideas, and we can really come up with ideas that will benefit Australia and benefit this country. And this is how we do it, by having these sorts of events. So please come along. And the very next day, on the Sunday, we'll be in Cessnock with Stuart Bonds, also Dr. Reynolds and Katie McCallum. And again, I will be there at the East Cessnock Bowling Club, May 3rd at 2 p.m. Please come along for that one. We'd love to see you all there. As I said, these events are very important. So I just wanted to plug those ones because it's next weekend. So if you're thinking about getting your tickets, you better jump on board and get them as soon as you can. Can you hear us, John?
I've just looked at my audio, so I can't hear you guys. But Riley, do you want to close?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Steve. It's been a great conversation. Talked about a lot of different things. Hopefully, we're both praying for you to turn to Christ. That's the main thing we want to get out of this. Of course, we want a better government. Australia's a better government, but of course, Christ is king. But yeah, just thank you. And
Look, boys, I've really appreciated it. It's been a lot of fun. I was looking forward to this one, and I wish we could talk more because I love talking about politics and myself. I don't get it. As you said, I don't get the chance to do it a lot, but that's one of the paradoxes of being a podcaster. You're always listening to other people, but we do need better leadership in this country. We need better ideas, and this country has a lot of potential. And it fills me with a lot of hope seeing you two guys involved and doing everything that you're doing. And I do support everyone. I do encourage everyone to support what you guys are doing, Young Conservatives for Christ. Head to the YouTube page and you'll find it all there. Subscribe. I don't know why I'm not subscribed, but there I am. I'm sure I was subscribed. YouTube's playing games with me, but there we go. And as you guys said, you've had some great interviews of late. Dr. Christopher Reynolds was one of your former guests, and also you got a lot of great discussions there. I mean, I have listened to some of your stuff already, so I will keep listening, and hopefully we can have more of these conversations in the future, guys.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Yeah. All right, I guess I'll sign everyone off. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. It does help with the algorithms, whether it's Commanding the Narrative, Young Conservatives for Christ, or both. I encourage you to follow both because we do need strong conservative voices in Australia. I hate saying conservative because I don't really feel like I'm conservative, but what better term out there is there than saying that we're just on the right? So I guess we're conservatives. But for now, thank you, John. Thank you, Riley. It's been a blast, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you.